guys, Brent here, and welcome to this pre-recorded adaptive fit class. I'm a physical therapist and strength and conditioning specialist. I work with people with disabilities on a regular basis, as well as able-bodied individuals, and we do cool stuff. So in today's workout, we're going to do a full body routine with some compound, complex movements. But don't worry, we'll go through some progressions and regressions so that everyone can find what works best for them. All right, in this workout, you're going to need some books or heavy things as weights, a backpack to put those books or heavy weights in. If you have dumbbells, kettlebells, or any other kind of exercise equipment that would suit this need, you can use those as well. You're going to need a long bath towel for our slam ball exercises. I have a video on how to make these, so please reference that on how to make one, and we'll get into the meat of this workout here. So first thing I want you guys to do is warm up for about 10 minutes, and it can be any kind of aerobic activity, generally moving, doing like jumping jacks, arm circles, mini squats, reaching and stretching in all directions. The main thing is get yourself moving, get your heart rate elevated so that you're ready for this workout. All right. What I'm going to go over next is our practice round, going over the progressions and regressions of each exercise. All right. Our first exercise is the single leg deadlift and row for our standing athletes. For our seated athletes, we're going to be doing a single arm row from the chair. All right. And then we'll be going over a rainbow slam. So that's where you're going to need that slam ball for that. We're going to go over a side lunge with an overhead press. For our seated athletes, we're going to be doing a push up and over exercise. Go over that one as well. We're going to be doing some side elbow ups, fun core exercise, and finish with burpees, basically getting up and down from the ground. So let's get into that first exercise, a single leg deadlift with the row, and then we'll go over that single arm row. So we're going to first fill our backpack with some weights. Here I'm putting the books into my backpack. I'm kind of guessing at what weight's going to be good for me. And so for the single leg deadlift, ideally you're going to hold the weight in the arm, same side as your swing leg. You're going to stand on one foot, so I'm standing on my left leg right now. And I'm going to hinge forward at my hips, keeping my torso as neutral as possible. Chest is wide, reaching my foot back. My right foot's going back. My right arm goes down with it towards the ground. And then I'm going to pause in this position, pull my weight towards my hip, and then hinge back up for the deadlift. So that's the single leg deadlift in row. Make sure that you pull the straps on your backpack as tight as possible to minimize the play of the straps. That way you can get a little bit more bang for your buck on this exercise as you're performing the single leg deadlift and row. If you need a little bit of help with balance, you can always hold on to a stable surface and perform this hip hinge that way. So that way you have a little bit more points of contact so you can perform the movement easier. You can always get rid of the weights if that part doesn't feel good. You can simply hinge down and then pull your arm up to your hip, your hand up to your hip, and then hinge back up to standing. If the single leg part doesn't feel good for you, we can do this in a stagger stance, kind of like a semi-lunge. You're going to step my right foot back, my left foot's in front. I'm going to hinge over my left hip, coming down. In that bottom position, I'm doing a row, and using my left hip to drive myself back up to standing. That's another modification here. And again, you can use a point of contact on a table or sturdy surface and come up that way. Make sure you try both sides, figure out what works best for you. All right. For our seated athletes, we're going to be doing a single arm row. Seated in your chair, you're going to have your weight off to one side. You're going to hinge forward at your hips, trying to maintain a broad, wide chest, neutral spine. You're going to pull that backpack as if you're pulling towards your hip. So here I'm hinging forward, I'm grabbing the backpack with my right arm, and I'm pulling that backpack up to my right hip as best as I can. You should feel a squeeze in your upper back around the shoulder blade region. All right? And you do both sides, play around with the weight that feels best for you. All right, so that's the single leg deadlift and row and the single arm row variation for our seated athletes. Next one is going to be our rainbow slams. You're going to use your towel ball for that. For our standing athletes, you're going to bring that ball up overhead, slam it down to the ground, squat down to meet it at the ground, pick it up, stand up, and go to the other side. Make sure you squat down to go get it. If balance is an issue, you can hold on to a stable surface and you can just do one arm at a time, throw it down, pick it up, switch hands, and throw it down. If you need that little bit of balance support. And then for our seated athletes, simply sitting in your chair, you're going to pick up that ball from one side, bring it up over your head, slam it down to the ground, pick it up overhead again, go to the other side, side to side. Rainbow slams. All right, next one is going to be the side lunge with an overhead press. This one, you're going to hold your weight in the front, like so, double-handed, in a front rack position. And we're going to step to the side, press up overhead, and come back up. Step to the side, press up overhead, and then stand back up. If you need some balance for support for this one, you can ditch the weights and simply put your hands on an elevated surface, step to the side, come back up, step to the side, come back up. So that's the side lunge variation. And then for our seated athletes, we're going to be doing a push-up and over. So starting for our seated athletes who either don't feel comfortable transferring out of their chair or it's impractical, we're going to roll up to an elevated surface. With a backpack or some kind of bolster on top of that elevated surface. And from here, you're going to hinge forward, push up, put both hands on the backpack, and then go to the other side, push up. So we're pushing up and over the bag. So that's where the name push up and over comes from. You can make this easier or harder by varying the height of the table. The higher up it is, the easier it'll be. The lower down it is, the harder it'll be. So that's how you can gauge the challenge here. If you can transfer out of your chair and it's practical for you to do so, what you're going to want to do is put that bag or that bolster on the ground, transfer on down, however you get down there. Once you're on the ground, set yourself up in whatever posture feels best for you. Pressing up, say I don't have use of my legs very well, I'll probably be in something that looks somewhat like this. And then both hands go up on top of the bag, coming down to the side, pushing up and over the bag this way. So that's the push up and over. All right. So we went over the lateral lunge and press, we went over the push up and over. Next is going to be the side elbow up. So side elbow up is performed on the ground. So if you're already on the ground, roll onto your side. And what we're going to do here, I'm currently lying on my left side. My left arm is outstretched in front of me. My legs are bent, so my knees are approximately bent at 90 degrees. My hips, knees, and ankles are all stacked on top of each other. I'm reaching my right hand up towards the sky. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to lift my body up towards the sky using my left arm and my abdominal muscles. Pulling through my elbow, my left elbow, into the ground, engaging my core to lift up, looking up at the ceiling at my hand, and then lowering down under control. Key thing here is to make sure that your knees stay down on the ground. A lot of people tend to use those knees to generate momentum. We want to keep them down so you force the action to come from your upper arm and your abdominals. So that's the side elbow up from the floor. All right. We can do some variations of this in standing. say getting onto the floor is problematic for you, but you can do exercises in standing. What you can do is lean up against an elevated surface, like this table. And from here, I can pull myself up through my elbow using my core and a little bit of help from my legs to accomplish the movement. That's the side elbow up. And the lower the table is, the harder it'll be. The higher the table is, the easier it'll be. For our student athletes who have a hard time transferring out of the chair, we can roll up to the side of this table here, and you'll have to, this is where you play around with how far away from the table you are. You lean out on top of the table. My left arm is on the table, and my right arm is reaching up towards the ceiling. And I'm going to pull with my elbow on my left side to pull myself up, reaching my right arm towards the sky, and lowering back down. And this is a seated side elbow up. Trying to drive your elbow back behind you as you complete the movement. The further out you are from the table, the harder this will be. The closer in you are, the easier it'll be. So that's how you can gauge the difficulty there. So that's the side elbow up. Last exercise in this workout is the burpee. Classic burpee is done in starts in standing, and you hop down to the ground, touch your belly to the floor, hop on back up, and do a little jump up to the ceiling, and then repeat, getting up and down from the ground as fast as you can for repetitions for this number for 1 minute. Now, if that's not in your wheelhouse, we can do some other variations. Simply just getting up and down from the ground is the objective. So, using whatever support you need to get up and down from the ground is fair game here. If you need to use a table to come down, support yourself, lowering down, pressing yourself up, adjusting your feet, stand up like that, raise up, is totally okay. That is an acceptable burpee in this class. If you need to use maybe a chair, that's okay. Lowering down. The key thing is make sure that you come down completely under control. I don't want you falling down to the ground. Everything you do should be under control. In this class, it should be safe. All right. For our seated athletes who are already on the ground, a variation of this that we can do involves rolling. So start in a long sit position, like so. Legs are outstretched, torso is upright, and then I'm going to have you roll onto one side. So I'm rolling to my left onto my stomach, and then I'm going to roll back up into that long sit, reach my arms overhead, and then roll over to my right onto my stomach, then roll back into long sit, reach my arms overhead, alternating the direction of your roll to sit. So this is how we can perform a burpee in this long sit position. For our athletes who are still in the chair, or if that's the safest version for you to do, what you're going to do is you're going to touch the floor, touch your hips, or touch your knees, and reach for the sky. Knees, floor, knees, sky. Knees, floor, knees, sky. Going back and forth. Reps for time. If you can't reach the floor, find something that's on the floor that is elevated, and you can reach and touch that, and do your reps that way. Alright? So, hope you guys got all those exercises practiced and feel good with them. What you guys are going to do is 5 rounds, going through all 5 of these exercises. Spend 1 minute at each station. For these single-sided exercises, like the single leg deadlift in row, single arm row, the side elbow ups, you spend 30 seconds on each side, and then you switch over. So, and then give yourself 1 minute of rest at the end of a circuit. All right, so this whole workout should take about 30 minutes to complete. Go have fun with it.